Hey guys, I'm Pierce. Today I want to talk about a few things. Kind of just gonna raw dog this and we'll edit things through. Uh, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? This is Pierce. Today I want to go over a few things just kind of on my mind. I want to get in the habit of making videos. Want to talk briefly about early access and like how the launch has been kind of feeling so far. Touch on heroic dungeons. How that's affected basically how like high end players are playing. It was mentioned on the Potty C briefly, but just get my own take in for that. Um, why I think that like the launch like actually was really good, but there's like a big thing that I just think could have been added. Um, that would have just made it better. I want to talk about Dells really quick. That's kind of a part of the like solo content and like the direction they're going. And then I want to talk briefly about crests and potentially in the future how that works out, and then finally just talk about tuning and where it's at and like kind of where it's at in the future. So we'll start with what has happened and then we'll move into the future. Okay. So with early access, let's see. I think it got talked about a lot before the actual expansion started. Basically, it just comes down to a price point. You do get like 15, you get like 30 days worth, which is like $15. So you're paying $5. You know, I think in like a lot of games, paying $5 to play 3 days early is pretty worth it. Um, I think one of the pretty common things that people say is that early access can like maybe like help on like server loads and stuff. But the thing is with MMOs is the people who played during the early access are going to play like on the launch day as well. It's not like you can actually offload like people, just like they're going to be there. So, um yeah, I early access I don't really have a problem with that potentially. I don't know. That's like hard to say. Like I think there's a problem with it, but I don't see a world where it doesn't work. That being said, in an MMO though, I really think it was bad. Subjectively, of course, but I basically didn't even level my character until the third day. It was like really kind of whack. Um, yeah, early access was whack. So then we got into the launch. That's where I want to talk about cadence more. Okay, um, we're still on as of this recording. Tuesday will be the start of heroic week and M0s will unlock. But that's right now I basically like leveled up my fifth character. I'm not usually a big leveler. There's just not that much to do. So this kind of leads into the heroic dungeon things where like if you were to ask me how I want to do like basically any dungeon, like even once I get into like hierarchies, like I want to just pull as much as possible. So in heroics, basically the only thing that I can do is pull the entire dungeon, right? And this isn't like I think this ruins some people's experience. Um, but the important thing is that it's never maliciously, right? I'm pulling these dungeons really big so that I can have fun. And anecdotally, um, more people have told me at the end of dungeons, "Oh my gosh, this was so much fun," than the people who have complained about it. Do you know what I mean? And then I'd even say like so many more just like re-queue instantly. Do you know what I mean? They don't type in chat, but like of the loud people, I do actually hear compliments at the end of these dungeons more than the complaints. So yeah, it's just weird that we're in a space like that because then you get into spots like I want to do these dungeons as fast as possible. I'm like, basically maybe like a slimy elitist sort of level, So when someone's doing like a really bad job, some people in these heroic dungeons are so bad that they actively make it harder to do the dungeon, like progress the dungeon, right? Um, and I shouldn't be in dungeons with them, right? I, thought about going on the PTR and stuff like that. I not that sweaty, right? So there's people that are even sweatier, right? And my thing for the launch is that it sounds like people love the story. I basically finished the campaign. Like, I got to level 80 and realized that I had to go back and do an hour and a half of campaign because I just wanted to level through dungeons. It turns out that the most of the WoW player base is like not casuals, they're mole people, right? So there's like sweats, like mid-core players, casual players, and then like the last half is like mole people. Like they want 2 weeks to just do, all this fun stuff, Give me M plus with no rewards. I don't see why I can't just be literally doing Mythic Plus right now, and it will not give me any rewards or any vault until after Mythic Week. I would be really, really happy right now. All my friends, a lot of them aren't even leveling the alts because they don't want to level or do random dungeons or spam heroics, I happen to like, I like I'm a Fodom reroller, so like I had to like learn how to play Arcane Mage. You know what I mean? I like picked up my Havoc after I found out that I didn't have to play Eldrazi. You know what I mean? So I just think that we should have had Mythic Plus. That's basically my main point. Story part of the game is so important. That is like probably where a ton of the money comes in. We should take the time to do this, but just give me rewardless content, right? I don't know. I'm doing heroics anyways. So, I seriously, the only miss that could be is like some people are confused because they're not getting it, but I don't know. I just want a keystone as soon as I ding level 80, even if I don't get rewards for it, Anyways, so delves. Now let's talk about delves, okay? Because delves is like right on this tier of like the solo content that we're talking about, where it's really good for I think most people. Like the reason I like Fodom reroll is so that I don't have to have queue times. I play so many tanks and healers. Like literally every single class I play, it can be a tank or a healer. Besides mage, it's the first time I've ever done this. So like I play a lot, and I don't and the queue time is the problem. Delves are a great solution to that. Being able to play single player is awesome. So, one of the biggest problems with Mythic Plus, though, is like defensive creep. And I really do want to reiterate that, like, if these delves are like hard to do, and that's like why we need like more defensives, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just worried that I've heard that they're moderately difficult, so like I think I don't want to get into a Torghast situation as well for people where like it's like, oh, I've got to do my 8 delves. Like that's what Torghast was, guys. Like, it was a cool system that like you had to do, so it sucked. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see, And like if you're playing, I played a balanced druid during Torghast, so like I just mounted through everything and I convoked every single hard mob. Like I didn't have anything, but Torghast was the funnest thing in the world for me, but the other 12 classes didn't have a good time. So I'm worried about the delves. I think we have a heroic week because of delves too. So I am a little bit worried about the direction of WoW. But if WoW can grow, there will still be support for Mythic Plus, which is what I love, okay? Now, I've talked about Mythic Plus a lot, okay? I do raid, like Mythic Raid. I can usually like pug all the raids on like the Mythic raids on my alts like pretty early. We're talking like, you know, maybe as early as week 2, sometime, usually by like week 3 or 4 I can like pug on at least one of my characters if I'm not in a, Mythic raiding guild. But this season I think Mythic rating is like so insanely important because it's not about the 1 out of 6 myth track. That's already like pretty nuts. The biggest, I mean, that's like, that could be its whole discussion, but like I think like now has like a thing on how many dungeons you need to do for that, right? But then you also need to upgrade like your Worm's Crest too, right? So like I mean, not your Worm's Crest, but like the heroic track gear, like the last 2 steps of it are usually the aspects. I'm realizing now that I should have like looked a little bit more into this before I just started talking, but I really just want to get these videos out, so I'm talking just for practice even. But essentially, getting a mid-track item will skip those 2 aspect crest levels. So you're like adding on 2 aspect crests for free by just looting a mid-track item, and then you can just upgrade your mid-track items for Valor Stones, So I'm very worried about that. I only raid because I want to do Mythic Plus. I am at a part, like, time in my life where I should probably just like find a really good raiding guild, like that. It's probably like my, I'm not putting in the effort to enjoy that part of the content, but I just love Mythic Plus, So the aspects, a little bit worried about that. A little bit worried about the uncapped aspects that people are getting, or the like veteran ones. The veteran ones, I mean. So you'll get like a little bit of extra eye level, I would just love to be wrong about that aspect part with the new heroic items. Okay, I have one more thing. Okay, tuning. Okay. Okay. There's about 6 or 7 good classes, probably 3 great ones, There's like 13 classes, right? So that leaves like 6 or so. Like those 6 classes, I don't think I'll ever invite. I've talked about how I'm a Fodom reroller and stuff like that. I like watch tier lists and stuff like that. Because I just enjoy the content. The biggest part of tier lists is like hearing them explain it, not necessarily their tiering, right? Because I hate how tier lists themselves are done. People always use an S tier when like it's just like there's 3 roles, right? I'm tangenting, but I'm gonna talk about tier lists because like I love making tier lists myself, The thing about an S tier when you're playing with like 3 different roles, healer, tank, and DPS, is like sometimes there just isn't an S tier healer, even though there's an S tier tank and an S tier DPS. Do you know what I mean? Like just because there's a best healer doesn't make it like S tier. Do you know what I mean? Like so many times people will like make an S tier and it's just like good classes. Do you know what I mean? Like S tier to me means like you have to play this or you're like trolling. Do you know what I mean? Coming from like a MOBA background, it's like you have to pick it or ban it, Like you have to ban it on the red side or pick it on blue side. I think there's metas exist, It doesn't take a content creator making a tier list for me to like play with random hunters in heroic this week and realize that everything except survival is terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't take like a genius for me to like really struggle with some of these R druids. Do you know what I mean? Like okay, maybe the R Druid wasn't the greatest of ones, you know, because I don't think that that's nearly as bad as like the Hunter ones, right? But like, I think tuning's a little off. That's my point. I think you've got like, you know, I talked about the three classes. I think you've got like mages, shamans, um, uh, and DKs. You know, these are specs with like, you know, elemental or shaman has three of the three good specs. DK has three out of three good specs, maybe two out of three, and one like really close to three out of three. You know, mage, it's got one. It's got basically the best spec in the game right now, and this is the problem with tuning that we're, you know, gonna tangent on right now, but come back to. That doesn't make sense, but yeah. Um, I main arcane mage, but I'm thinking I'm gonna play demon hunter because I think my class is gonna get tuned into the ground. They've talked about like doing one more set of tuning changes, I think, on the 17th or something for the 17th. And whew, how is my class not going to get blasted? What if I'm a casual player and I only play mage, right? What if I re-rolled mage for the expansion and now like you're not even giving us enough time? I just think the tuning's pretty off right now. I think, you know, you're literally gonna have a mage and a shaman in every single group, basically. Like pretty much every single group, right? Um, I think you pretty much want to just invite a blood DK to every single key until you're like moderately high level, because then you just don't have to worry about the DK, right? Like, that's not even talking about like once we get into like some like really high key meta things, you know? I'm just a little bit worried. Um, Dragonfight had like pretty solid balancing going into it. Um, and they balance like every 2 weeks. We've gotten like a balance post that's like talking about like fixed bugs that are getting like, you know, sometimes that's hard to fix, right? So I guess I'm not a developer, so like maybe I shouldn't assume there. But you know, I play a lot of classes, but I'm a little worried. I'm a little bit worried. So like those hunters, they have to wait like 3 months or something, 2 months to become a good spec. It's like depressing. Anyways, I yapped for quite a while. Let me just check my thing really quick. Yeah, we look good. All right. Thanks, guys. Dude, why did you do that peace sign?